то прежде всего хочу выразить слова искреннего соболезнования семьям.
Vladimir Putin so kindly expressing his condolences to the people he killed. Welcome back to the JP React channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, corruption of tyrants, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. There's a tyrant in the world named Vladimir Putin. He's the Russian president who's kind of made it like legalized, like only he can be president. And the guy, he's just a tyrant. He really is. It's also kind of fascinating. Like if you like mobster movies, which I do, like The Godfather, it makes me just somehow intrigued about Putin because he seems to operate that way at an extraordinarily high level. And I also think this is a relevant story we're going to be getting into because it speaks to the mind, psychology, and the pattern and the behaviors of tyrants. So Joe Biden, he is not Vladimir Putin, but they're both tyrants and they both have way too much in common. So with this story, you may have remembered about a month ago, give or take, there was a group called the Wagner Group, looks like Wagner if you speak and pronounce things in English, tried to overthrow Putin. Tried to do a good old-fashioned coup. They were none too successful. And the leader of this Wagner Group is a guy with the last name Prigozhin or something like that. Now, if you try to overthrow Putin, you have to think like, you're going to get Epsteined pretty freaking quick. So nobody thought this guy would have a long life after he attempted to overthrow Putin and of course failed because Putin is notorious for just people getting Hillary Clinton out of windows. Like there's a lot of people in Russia who Putin doesn't like, who have just accidentally fallen out of windows from very high buildings. Anyway, they finally took out Prigozhin, the leader of the coup attempt anyway. And here you can see the headline, Wagner chief who plotted coup presumed dead in Russia plane crash. So what happened, there was Prigozhin, he was on a private jet flying from somewhere to somewhere else. He wasn't going to where he already was. You're welcome for those specific details. And the plane just, it really crashed. And we'll see the footage of the crash here in a second, but it didn't look like, oh, like they had a screwed up landing or an engine went out. It was like falling from the sky straight down, wounded bird. One has to speculate, did Putin shoot it down or did he have the plane sabotaged? We saw Putin in the opening part of this video really expressing his condolences for the deceased person who tried to overthrow Putin. I'm sure they were super sincere condolences. Anyway, so Putin obviously hasn't admitted it. Based on what Putin's admitted, he's never done anything wrong, which is great. So we can just allegedly think Putin had something to do with this. And we'll hear more about what Putin had to say in a second. But first, here's a quick rundown on the story, and we'll see some of the plane crash footage, which is I don't think I've ever seen a plane crash before this one.
Shocking turn of events in Russia where Yevgeny...
Shocking? Is it really shocking? The guy that tried to overthrow Putin, that he was killed? She's shocked. I'm not.
Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner mercenaries, who tried to overthrow Russian President Vladimir Putin, appears to have been killed in a plane crash. Russian officials say he was on board a private jet that took off from Moscow yesterday. Other leaders of the Wagner Group were also on board. Deborah Pata has the story.
Then if you take a look again at the plane falling, it's dropping.
Say he was on board a private jet that took off from Moscow yesterday. Other leaders of
Pretty
the Wagner
unusual.
Group...
It's like the plane, it stopped in midair and then just fell. Looks like suspicious activity. Let's hear more of Putin's sincere condolences.
Пригожина я знал очень давно. С начала 90-х годов. Это был человек сложной судьбы.
Which, by the way, I don't think I had ever heard Putin's voice before. Expected a more like manly voice, but no judgment.
И ошибки у него были серьезные в жизни.
He made serious mistakes in his life.
Результатов нужных.
I imagine you think so.
И для себя, и тогда, когда я его просил об этом для общего дела, как вот в эти последние месяцы. Он был талантливый человек, талантливый бизнесмен. Работал не только у нас в стране, и с результатом работал, но и за границей, в Африке в частности. занимался там нефтью, газом, драгоценными металлами и камнями. Вот он касается этой авиационной катастрофы.
The aviation tragedy. Just love his framing of that.
То прежде всего хочу выразить слова искреннего соболезнования семьям всех погибших. Это всегда трагедия. И действительно, если там находились вроде первичные данные говорят о том, что там находились и сотрудники компании «Вагнер», хотел бы отметить, что это люди.
So nonetheless, you're hearing his sort of propaganda. He's going through the motions, condolences, and it's an aviation tragedy. So that's exactly what I would expect from Putin. And to me, there's just a 0% chance that Prigozhin's plane had any other mishaps other than Putin making sure his people made sure it crashed or was potentially shot down. To me, there's just no question about it. Now, it's so fascinating, and for at least the part of me that likes to follow mobster and gangster mafia-like activity, because Putin seems to operate just like a mafia boss at a super high level. The guy has a $1 billion mansion/palace. Woo, that's high level. But here's why I think this is relevant for us as Americans. And if you're not American, I want you to know I identify you as an American. And by the way, our southern border is wide open. Apparently, you can just walk across. Just yesterday, Biden tore down a new section, so it's just easier to walk across. But nonetheless, this is Putin taking out a political rival of his. We've seen him take out a guy named Navalny. He had him poisoned, he had him thrown in prison, and this political rival was rival enough that Prigozhin tried to overthrow him. I mean, that's quite the political rivalry. And now we see how Putin has taken him out. This is an authoritarian who takes out his political rivals. Does that start to rhyme with anything that's happening in America? Now we have authoritarian Biden. Dare I say, a guy who's trying to make himself an authoritarian, or a guy who at least has people behind him using it as a puppet so they can be authoritarians. And Biden is taking out his political rival, President Trump. Are they using the weapon of bullets or missiles shooting Trump's plane out of the sky? No. Are they using murder as a tactic? No. And luckily not yet. Hopefully never. But are they using political persecution as the weapon to take out his political rival? The answer is yes. This is the same tyrannical behavior that Putin is doing in Russia. It's what Biden is doing in America, and I don't like it. And I think it would be a mistake to kind of do the, look over there, look what Putin is doing in Russia. That is terrible. While we're blind and distracted to how the same thing is happening in America with Biden and Trump. It's the same thing happening, it's just happening in a different way. It's not Trump's plane being shot out of the sky and murder being used as the method to take him out. It's political persecution to attempt to use imprisonment as the method to take him out. I think it's important we see the reflection, look what Putin's doing, that is horrible, and look how Biden is doing the same thing. Because it's easy to point over there while we miss what's happening in our own backyard. And I'd imagine you can see it, and I'd imagine there's a lot of people that could use a little waking up so they can see this reality that's mirrored, the same reality that Putin is doing in Russia with his tyrannical tactics. It's what Biden is doing here with his tyrannical tactics. I would just say the only difference is Russia might be beyond salvation. And what I mean by that is America is not beyond salvation. Putin seems to have total control over the entire government. He's seemingly completely installed his totalitarian regime. Biden is in the process of trying to install his totalitarian regime. And there's a lot of patriots who aren't complying with it. There's a lot of patriots who are making it very difficult for Biden and his totalitarian regime to install deeper and further. And I think that's a good thing. And I think the more we see what he's doing, the more we call it out for what it is. It's tyrannical tactics, it's political persecution, it's him taking out his political rival. The more we see that, the more we say that, the more it helps wake up other people to that awareness. Because the only way that tyrannical nut jobs can do this is if they have the consent of the people. In other words, for people to do nothing, for people to see nothing and say nothing. But the more people are awake to it, the more we can't help but to not consent to it. So if we see something, say something. I think that's like an airport saying, like with, if you see a suspicious suitcase, see something, say something. Well, this is a little bit more important than that. I consider it important to wake up to what's going on and say something about it so we can have the country that we all want, rather than a country that is the same thing that happens in Russia, except we speak English. So with that said, my freedom-loving friend, thank you for taking a look at this video with me, seeing what's going on in Russia, taking out political rivals, and considering how is that also the same thing going on here? Yikes! I appreciate you. I will see you next time, my friend. But before you go, I want to clue you in on a little something. Do you want to be an unhealthy piece of garbage your entire life? Well, me either. That's why I love Bon Charge, a holistic wellness company that offers a wide range of products to help you up-level your life in every way. And their red light therapy devices are amongst my favorites. Why is that? Because I'm getting old and I injure myself all the time. I always have sore muscles or I hurt myself working out. Most recently, I threw my back out playing pickleball. It hurt. Because red light therapy helps with sore muscles, accelerates healing recovery, accelerates recovery from exercise, helps with wrinkles, anti-aging effects on the skin. It helps with sleep and relaxation, and a lot more. So it used to be when I would injure myself or I have sore muscles, I'd just sit around waiting, not doing anything about it, helpless, not really knowing what to do about it. So now I just increase my time in front of the red light therapy device. This is the Super Hive Max, which I love. And I find with my challenges like my back, my sore muscles, the red light therapy helps me recover faster and get back in action real quick. And also I'm getting old, I'm 42 and my face looks like it. That's why I've been using the Bon Charge red light face mask. I've been doing 10-minute sessions for the anti-aging effects. And plus when you have this on, nobody's gonna break into your house to rob you. You look a little too intimidating. I'm someone that likes to take control over my health and well-being, doing everything I can, and red light therapy has earned its place in my life as a staple in my health program. If you'd like to check out Bon Charge's amazing selection of red light therapy devices and other amazing health and wellness products, just go to boncharge.com/JPReacts. And while you're there, be sure to use the discount code JPReacts to get yourself 15% off. Happy health and healing, my friend.